One of the big things that gets overlooked in yoga is proportions, the lengths of bones, how long your arms might be in relation to the length of your torso. And this is something that we talk about a lot in yin yoga because we're really interested in skeletal variation. But there's lots of instances in flow, and I've got an example for you from Ashtanga yoga where this is really important because it's going to make the difference between you struggling with this and feeling like there's something wrong with you versus being able to do this with ease. And I'm talking about arm proportions. So arm proportions are going to be different from body to body. And the best way for you to check this out for yourself is to come and sit in Dandasana staff pose. And without slumping and slouching, bring your hands down to the floor beside you and see if the heels of your palms can actually touch the floor. Mine can't. Can you see that? There's a good inch between the floor and my palms. I've seen lots of yogis though that have their hands flat on the floor, they're sitting up tall, and they've actually got such long bones that they're slack in their arms and their elbows are bent. I could do that, but look at how much I've got to crouch forward. Which means when I straighten my arms, I don't have much leverage there. You probably know where I'm going with this video. I want to talk about jump backs. Jump backs for the Ashtangis. Now let's say that you are somebody who can sit and your hands are flat and you've got plenty of bend, plenty of wiggle room in your arm length. You know, working on the pose, of course, and having good core strength, of course, you're probably going to be one of those people that can very easily lift up, tuck your feet together and jump back into plank. Clearly I can't do that. I've got a strong core, but I just don't have the leverage. Now, time and time again, when I was practicing Ashtanga, I had brilliant teachers tell me, you will get there one day, you just need to keep strengthening your core. Which I did. And I really struggled. And my core was rock solid. But nobody ever brought awareness to the fact that we have different length bones. So if you find that you're somebody who has that same situation as me, slightly short arms, I encourage you to play with the props. So here's how you make up with that little bit of lack of length in your arm bones. You put blocks under your hands. Now, bearing in mind I'm a yin teacher and I haven't done flow for quite a while, let's just talk this through. And yeah, no judgment on the sliding of my feet. Okay, so now we're back in Dandasana. If I put blocks under my hands, wow, look at how much extra length I got. Now I'm in that club of people that can sit up tall and have a little bit of a bend in the elbows. So now what does that mean if I'm to lift? Oh, I actually get up off the floor. That's pretty amazing. Now you could go really high. And whoa, look at how much lift I have now. And then if I was to do my jump back, I've got plenty of space. And same if I was jumping forward. So I really don't subscribe to that idea that every single person in the room is going to be able to experience the posture in the same way if they just keep trying. Practice, practice, always coming, because we all have a totally different body. And you do hear that from time to time. Teachers will say, do what's right for your body. But how do you know what that is? How do you know what you're working with? This arm proportion thing is a really big deal because it's not something that you can change with the amount of yoga that you're doing. Another example that I'd like to talk about is binding or twisting. So I'm going to talk about Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes. Just in the sense that this is going to do slightly different things to the spine depending on how long your arms are. So if I was to come into Ardha Matsyendrasana, so I've got my legs organized. If I was somebody with really long arms, I could probably have the middle of my forearm in contact with my knee. Oh no, sorry, I'd probably have my humerus in contact with my knee. But see, if I was to try and have that happen, I already have to round my spine quite a bit. So my shoulders have come forward beyond my hips. If I was to still have my shoulders over my hips, look at how far back I've got to move. So if I was to bend my elbow, I'm only just in contact with the knee here. And then what happens when I'm then trying to bind? I've actually got to come into quite a forward fold, and my spine is twisted to the side and forward, which is fine, but that's just going to be very different from someone who's got really long arms, who can stay upright and bind at the same time. So a really good way to check that for yourself, just to remind you again, what am I working with here? What kind of leverage have I got in my bones? Can the heels of my palms touch the floor in Dandasana, or are they lifted away? If they're lifted away, you may benefit from having blocks under your hands in different kinds of circumstances. If they're touching the floor and you're fine, well, you've actually got a lot more leverage than someone else in the room. So binding and jump backs are going to be really different for you. I've got one more example of something, and this comes up a lot. It's where we are in a lunge position, face this way, and the teacher is telling us to step back into plank silently without the foot scraping on the mat. Now, if you've got quite short arms and your thigh and your chest are already in contact, your experience of trying to do that might be something like this. Scrape, scrape. But if you had a little bit more space and you could actually lift away from the floor, that might make all the difference. The same with stepping through silently, or I'm stuck. Does that resonate with you? Because something else that happens in classes a lot is we might be told to get a block or 2 blocks, and the teacher might say, with all the love in their heart, use the blocks if you need to. How do I know if I need them? What would I need them for? How can I start using the props in the room to really help me get the most out of my practice? Not as a handicap, or not as something that I'm using because I'm a beginner, but just to work with my amazing body as it is so that I have access to the practice. So I hope that that's been useful for you. Use the props. Check your arm length. Enjoy your practice. If you found this troubleshooting posture work helpful today, you can get more of that over here, and don't forget to subscribe.